Hello, everyone. Let's wait a few seconds for attendees to join in. Welcome to the Tips and Tricks to Finding Financial Aid Opportunities live session. We will begin in just a moment. If you have any questions for our speaker during the session, please write them in the live chat and we will answer as many as possible at the end. Okay, Kelsey, you can begin.
Thank you so much. My name is Kelsey Jones, and I am one of the international admissions counselors here at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, and I have a great presentation for you today regarding tips and tricks on finding financial aid opportunities here in the U.S. for education. So I'm going to share my screen now. Hope you're able to see that easily. So one of the keys to securing financial aid opportunities, obviously, is applying early. And so that is what the focus of this presentation is going to be about, applying early and what that means. So one of the first keys to understanding financial aid opportunities is understanding the type of institution that you're applying to. A lot of students don't take the time to realize this. So I've kind of broken it down into 3 tiers. The first is kind of that 2-year community college. The second is a 4-year public institution, similar, kind of the mid-sized university, bit more affordable, but more expensive than, say, a community college. And then you have kind of that tier 1 research institution or private institution that's going to be much more expensive, but offers some other benefits as well. So for that first type of institution, you see the breakdown here. Least expensive tuition and fees, some other fees involved there. And so the estimated total is going to be much, much smaller and affordable for students. But a lot of times they can't award large scholarships. And so you'll see that there on the bottom on their maximum scholarship. The second type of institution is an institution like my own, University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, kind of that mid to large size university, more of that mid-range to affordable tuition and fees there with some similar expenses, where it's going to be between that $30,000 to $40,000 range for a total cost, or a little bit less than that when you include everything. And they're all able to offer medium-sized scholarships. And then you have that third type of institution, which is going to be that much more selective, much higher private institution or larger research institution, much higher tuition and fees and things of that nature. And so that estimated total is going to be much, much higher. But as you can see, their maximum scholarship is much, much larger. So they can offer you a larger scholarship. But honestly, when you start to look at what the total out-of-pocket cost can be, you'll start to see where it kind of lays out and what type you can certainly get. So you want to make sure you understand that as you're going into applying for institutions and what type of financial aid you'll be able to receive. So that'll be important. So why are scholarships important, right? First, it's free money. Why wouldn't you want free money? All right. So getting scholarships helps you reduce that total cost of attendance to a college and university. So that's super important. And of course, it lowers the amount of money needed from personal and family sources. This is key. An IAE Open Doors report back in 2015 showed that about 80% of the payments for U.S. institutions came from some form of financial aid. So most students are using financial aid to help with those opportunities. Let's break some myths a little bit here. So I'm gonna go through a couple here. One of the big things I always hear students say is, I'm great at sports, I'll get an athletic full ride scholarship. The first thing I'll tell you is, unfortunately, that's a myth. There are not a lot of full ride athletic scholarships out there. They do exist, and they are available for students that are really good at sports, and usually you need to contact the athletics department pretty early on if you're not already being recruited for those opportunities. But a lot of times they aren't full ride scholarships. So you want to keep that into account, especially depending on what type of institution you're applying for. Next, most scholarships are available or awarded every year. This is true. Sometimes students think they can apply really late to an institution and there's still a lot of scholarships available. That is not true. Usually when students are applying early, a lot of those scholarship opportunities are getting taken up. And so you want to make sure You're applying early so you have the best chance to be awarded some of those scholarship opportunities. If you apply too late, sometimes some of that financial aid opportunities will not be there, unfortunately. I'm a 4.0 student, right? Straight A, great student. I can get a full ride. That is not always the case. And this is because this is a huge miss. A lot of times a 4.0, while it is great, there are a lot of students out there that are super high achieving, high merit, and things like that. And so while you may be able to get a good scholarship or a very substantial scholarship, it may not be a full ride because your holistic profile may not be as competitive as some of the other students applying for some of those full ride scholarships. They are out there, but they're not nearly as prevalent as students may think, some of those full ride scholarships. So you want to make sure you know that. Then the last one here, I should only apply for those big scholarships. Huge, huge myth, right? The reason why I say this is because while that huge scholarship is great, you don't want to put all your eggs in that basket. What you want to do is trying to apply for as many scholarships as you're eligible for, right? Why? Say you are able to get, you're applying for just one scholarship, and it's a $20,000 scholarship, and you don't get it. And that's the only thing you applied for. And now you're looking at, okay, what can I do to cover that? Well, if instead you maybe apply for that, but also apply to a bunch of other smaller scholarships, and you awarded the majority of those smaller scholarships, they add up. And so then you have more opportunities to then fund your education as well. So don't be afraid to apply for those smaller scholarships that will accumulate to a large amount to help with financial aid. Some other myths about financing higher education there, common misconceptions. All institutions give international scholarships. That is not true. You want to talk to the institution that you're applying to about what are their scholarship opportunities, because not all institutions do that for international students. The university can give me a loan so I can pay back my tuition fees later. Some universities are able to do that. Most are not. A lot of times students are finding loans through a private bank or something like that from their home country, as opposed to someone here in the US, because a lot of times you need either a social security number or a US citizen as a cosigner to get a loan from an institution or a bank here in the US. I just have to apply once. This is wrong. A lot of students like the convenience of applying for one thing and then it gives them all these scholarship options. That's very rare. A lot of times you're going to have to take that extra time to apply to multiple different types of scholarships if financial aid is a huge need for you. So make sure you have enough time to do that and you're not feeling the scramble. So preparing early is key to that. All scholarships are renewable. This is not true as well. Make sure you understand that when you're applying for different types of scholarships, right? Some scholarships are renewable, you maintain a similar grade or something like that, and that's all you really need to do. But some are not. Some you need to reapply for every single year. So you want to make sure you're understanding of that and know that. It's March, there are no scholarships left. That's not always true. Now, I did just say you don't want to apply late. But if you do end up applying late and working with the institution, they may still have scholarship opportunities available. So don't be afraid to ask about them, even if you think that is true. I wasn't awarded a scholarship this year, so I won't receive any in the future. That is not true. The amount of times I've had conversations with students that if you weren't able to receive scholarships or very many this year, that doesn't mean you can't get even more next year, because now you have the opportunity to apply for some of those continuing student scholarships, and you have the opportunity to apply much earlier. Usually you can utilize resources on your campus to do so. It's not worth applying for scholarships. Obviously, I wouldn't be having this presentation if that were true. So it's definitely worth applying to all of those scholarships. It's free money, and if you take the time to do it, I certainly think you'll be able to get a few at least. So let's talk about different types of scholarships. Institutional scholarship, right? These are the scholarships usually given out by a university and things of that nature, right? These can include merit-based scholarships. So they're going to be based on your grade, your academic performance, things that you did within the community, all of those type of things, right? That holistic profile. These are the majority of the type of scholarships that are out there. So for students that may be lacking in that merit-based, that is okay. There are other types of scholarships as well. Need-based scholarships. If an institution offers need-based scholarships, and I say if because not all institutions offer a need-based scholarship, it is important that you talk with them about this opportunity and what the criteria is to be eligible for need-based scholarships, if that applies to you, if that's an opportunity, and things of that nature. Great opportunity for those that may be in financial need. Major specific. So this is important. Right, UW-La Crosse, we have what's called foundation scholarships. And some of these can be major specific, not necessarily based on your merit, but based on the major you want to go into and something you need to do moving forward to maintain that type of scholarship, right? So it can be very major specific. So ask the institution that you're applying to or have been admitted to about these opportunities. And then last but not least, involvement-based scholarships. This is a great opportunity to not only immerse yourself in the campus community, but also get some financial aid for it as well. So UWL, we have something like that. It's called the I Engage Scholarship, which is a scholarship about $2,000 per semester, $4,000 per year for this scholarship. And that is a scholarship where it is based on you being involved in cultural events on campus and community building opportunities, all of those type of things that contributes to the cultural exchange and diversity here on campus. So some universities will have opportunities like this, so don't be afraid to ask about those opportunities as well. Outside scholarships, right? This is another way to get financial aid, not from the institution, but otherwise. I like to always give out one specific one that you may want to look into. A lot of students have to prove English proficiency, especially coming from the Latin America region, where you may be tuning in. And so Global Study Award is a one that is given by the IELTS test takers. So that is one of the English proficiency exams. And they give out a scholarship every year if you're going to study in an English-speaking country, such as the US. And that is an opportunity there. So I've brought up a link. So as I'm talking about the next scholarship opportunity, if you want to click on that, or if you want to get that from Apply Wave, definitely do so. Great opportunity there as well. Scholarships at UW-La Crosse, I talked about those financial aid scholarships as well. Foundation scholarships, if you end up applying to my university through Apply Wave, we can certainly work with you on that if you are admitted. And then of course, the Scholarship Resource Center is an opportunity where we give you a database of outside scholarships. These are extra resources that you may have. And so a lot of institutions will do that to help with those students, because honestly, if you're a high achieving student, or we feel like you can add to our campus community as a student, we want to help you get here. And so we want to help you find those opportunities as well. So utilize some of those outside scholarships is a great way to be able to fund your application. Now, big thing, applying for the scholarship, right? The key is start the process early. You don't want to be fumbling, trying to rush through and do these type of things and really compromise the quality of your applications to some of these scholarships. So give yourself enough time to gather all the necessary materials for scholarship submission. You're working with Apply Wave. I know they have a process for doing that. Work with them, make sure you're prepared, and start the process early. Be prepared to write multiple essays on a variety of topics. You can reuse some essays, but make sure that you're making them specific to the institution or the prompt for those scholarships, and be prepared to write multiple types. You usually aren't going to be able to use just one for every single type of scholarship at every single institution. So be prepared to do that. Letters of recommendation can be important. So relationship building will be important. Doing that with your teachers and school counselors and things of that nature will be important for that process. And then go on NAFSA's website. They're a great resource for applying for scholarships. Other things to consider, which is important, is calculating the true cost of attendance here. You have tuition fees, room and board, books, supplies, personal expenses. All of that goes into what we call an I-20 cost, which is the full cost of attendance at an institution. Look at that. Look at how much you can receive in scholarships, and that will give you a sense of how much out-of-pocket costs you need to pay, or how much harder you might need to work on finding other scholarship or financial aid opportunities. And then, of course, finding those other forms of financial aid, from private loans to work study to part-time jobs, payment plans, exploring all of those with your institution of choice, the one that you really feel like you want to go to, working with them to find any of these opportunities to help with that process can be important. So just some quick facts about my university real quick, so that you know as well. We have actually been ranked in the top 5 for public universities in the Midwest, and we have officially been ranked in the top 100 for public universities here in the United States out of thousands of institutions. So we're happy to be ranked in the top 100. Only one of 2 public universities here in the state of Wisconsin ranked that. We have a lot of great programs here, a little over 100 programs total, with some of our tops being biology and health sciences, computer science, business management, physics, and things of that nature. A lot of students that have gone to work for great employers as well. Mayo Clinic, Amazon, Boeing, all of those type of things as well. So if you want more information after the session, come and chat with me at my booth about our institution and some of those financial aid opportunities as well. And so this is the end of my time, I believe, here, and a great time to answer some of the questions that you may have had. And so I will turn it back over to Anna to do so, and I will stop sharing my screen.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelsey. Such a great presentation. So we have about 5 questions for you today. So our first question is, why is it so hard to find scholarships for MBBS? So medical programs.
Medical programs, yes. One, medical schools here in the US are super competitive. So if you are a student who already has a bachelor's degree and are looking to go into medical school, one, applying for a medical school is going to be super difficult. And two, finding financial aid opportunities are going to be super difficult. A lot of the scholarships and things are usually prioritized to American students. And so with that, international students typically have trouble finding those opportunities to find that. So they are out there. Usually when you're applying for a medical school that offers some of those scholarships, if they aren't need-based scholarships, so based on financial need, and they are based on merit, you have to be super competitive because you're also competing against American students as well that may have a better holistic profile, meaning that schools are more familiar with the education system that they're coming from. A school is more familiar with the type of courses or the practical experiences that they have, the type of internships they've done, the hospitals that they've worked at, or things of that nature going into medical school. So it can be a super competitive process. And so I wish I can give you an answer that says it's not as competitive as you think. The truth is it is pretty competitive. And so what you want to do is, if you're going through the process now, or in your final year of bachelor's degree study, reach out to some of the institutions that you're planning on applying to and ask them what will make you a competitive candidate for some of these scholarship opportunities. Don't be afraid to ask that question at all, because it's important for you to understand that if you're going to go through the very long and arduous process of applying to some of these schools.
Awesome, thanks.
A little bit.
Yeah. So another question is, could you explain scholarships that are specifically for majors?
Yeah, so I talked about that a little bit in the presentation. Some of the scholarships that are very specific to a major, and usually this comes from what we call departmental scholarships or foundation scholarships, which are scholarships by a foundation that is associated with the university, but not technically through the university. And so essentially there are funds that are given or raised by departments or alumni of departments that can be given out to students on a yearly basis. Some are which are renewable, some that are not, that you have to apply for every single year based on performance. And these are going to be based on very specific things. Some may come with the caveat of you're planning to do this major and you have to do some type of undergraduate research to maintain the scholarship or keep the scholarship. Some come with the fact that you have to maintain a certain GPA within this major to keep this scholarship or keep the scholarship. Some may be that you would have had to do this well in this course in high school, or if you're transferring in your courses already to gain this scholarship. So there can be varying criteria for these type of scholarships, but they are very specific. So essentially, if you're a business major and the scholarship is for a chemistry major, you're not going to be eligible for that scholarship. But there may be scholarships that are for specific business majors or specific biology majors or archaeology majors. And just for a little bit more information, a lot of times it's based on institutions' niche programs or programs that they're really trying to get students into and things of that nature, or a focus of the university. And so you can find some of this information even before you apply to an institution. So seeing what all the different types of financial aid opportunities at a university are before you even apply can do you a little bit of justice, because it'll save you some time, because you don't want to put all in the effort of applying to an institution, going through that process and finding out there really aren't a lot of scholarship opportunities available to you that really works for your financial need. So understanding that can be important.
Thank you. Our next question is, what amount do international students get in scholarships on average?
It's hard to say on average. I'm sure there's statistics out there. I think it's really based on the type of institution that you're applying to. That's why I kind of gave you that breakdown at the very beginning of the presentation, if you were able to see that, based on the type of institution, whether it's public or private, 2-year, 4-year, and just how much they're able to give in scholarships. I'll give you an example. For my institution, our international students on average get somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 in scholarships. And it really depends on how high achieving you are, as well as how early you apply, especially to get some of those foundation scholarships. For some institutions, they may have full ride scholarships, but usually if they have full ride scholarships, it's going to be maybe 1 or 2, definitely not probably over 10, right? So that's gonna be for the most competitive of students applying. If they offer large scholarships amount, that usually means that their tuition and fees costs can be a little bit more. So those are all things to watch. Again, don't be afraid to talk with people like me, admissions counselors or officers and things like that, that can tell you more about the financial aid opportunities. And then based on your specific profile, how realistic it is to get some of these opportunities as well. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Awesome. Yes, perfect. Then our next question is, does the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse offer a PhD programs in chemistry?
Unfortunately, we do not. The only PhD programs we have are in student affairs administration, which is where I actually got my master's degree here in, and maybe we'll doing the PhD at some point, we'll see, as well as physical therapy. Those are the 2 PhD programs we have. Other than that, we have only master's programs in the sciences, but unfortunately, none in chemistry, biology, microbiology, software engineering, stuff like that.
Awesome, thank you. Our next question is, is there any financial aid for English courses for international students?
By English courses, I'm assuming that you mean English language courses, as in like ESL training. If that's the case, then unfortunately, no. We currently do not have any available. That's not to say that no institution that has an English language program offers any type of financial aid. Unfortunately, we just do not. We only offer financial aid opportunities to degree-seeking students. And so for a student who needs to come for English language program first, we do say one of the benefits of our English language program is that you can do the program within a year, and then in the final stages of the program, you can actually take credit-bearing courses if you plan to then study on at our university. So you'll take 1 or 2 courses, like actual college level courses, where you're getting a chance to be in the classroom, get credit towards a degree, and practice your English skills in that setting as well. We have a very academically honed English program here. And so that's kind of the benefit of doing that. And then once you go through the ESL program, you'll be eligible for scholarships the same way if you were coming in as a brand new freshman or something like that, or a master's student or anything like that. So you'll be eligible that way.
Awesome, thank you. Now our last 2 questions are, how competitive are full scholarships? And what do I need to do to have a good chance to get one?
Very, very competitive. So not only do you need to usually be around that 4.0 GPA or very close to, depending on what your major is, they need to see that you have done well in those types of courses. For instance, if you're a computer science major and you have a high GPA, but you've gotten A's and everything else, but you got B's in your computer science type courses back in high school, or in college if you're going to a master's program, that will count against you when they start to compare you to other institutions. So you want to be strong GPA overall. You want to be strong in the types of subjects that your major is going to be in. And then you want to have a strong, what we call holistic profile. So that is going to be with like extracurriculars. That's going to be with test scores if the institution requires test scores. If an institution requires an interview process or an essay, you want to be strong in those type of things as well. If they require you to submit a resume, having super strong letters of recommendation if they require those will all go into that process. And essentially, with some of the school institutions that offer full ride scholarships, we're talking about students who in high school were doing research or working outside of the community to help solve some type of problem or something like that. These are really impressive students. And so not to discourage you from applying, but that's just to give you the sense of the type of things you need to be doing to be really competitive. Because a lot of times, these full ride scholarships, you're not just applying against other international students from across the world, but you're applying against domestic students as well here in the US. And a lot of times they already have this knowledge or had this knowledge when they started high school. And so they, have been building their resume and their profile to do so. So if you have that opportunity, at least within the next year, do that to strengthen your profile as much as possible.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelsey. That was great. Everyone's enjoyed your presentation. So interesting. And I know for sure you'll be getting a lot of messages after this presentation. Well, thank you everyone for joining this session. If you'd like more information, feel free to chat with Kelsey Jones directly or visit the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse booth. See you at the next session.